Imagine this. You are driving through Moscow. The roads are wide. The buildings are grand. You stop at a red light. A police officer walks up to your window. He looks at your car. Then he hands you a fine. Not for speeding. Not for running a red light. Not for parking illegally. He is fining you because your car is too dirty. This is not a joke. In Russia, specifically in Moscow, you can receive a fine for driving a vehicle that officials consider excessively dirty. Here's why this law exists, how it works, and what happens if you ignore it. Let us go back to the beginning. Russia has a complex system of traffic and environmental regulations. At the federal level, there is a specific regulation called the Basic Provisions for the Operation of Vehicles. Section 7 of this document lists conditions under which a vehicle is prohibited from operating on public roads. Section 7.2 of the regulation clearly states that it is forbidden to drive a vehicle if the state license plates are unreadable, or the external dirt prevents the identification of the vehicle's color and markings. This means that if enough mud and grime cover your car so that a traffic camera or a police officer cannot clearly see your license plate number, or if they cannot tell what color the car is, you are violating federal law. The fine for this specific offense is typically around 500 Russian rubles. However, Moscow has taken this concept much further. The city has its own local traffic codes. In Moscow, the government has passed laws that impose fines for operating a dirty vehicle even if the plates are still readable. The rules in the capital are stricter than anywhere else in the country. The legal justification comes down to environmental protection and public sanitation. According to the city's administrative code, a dirty car is not just an eyesore. It is a source of pollution. When a car covered in road grime, industrial soot, and dried mud drives through the city, that dirt does not stay on the car. It falls off. It turns to dust. It blows into the air that pedestrians breathe. Moscow authorities consider this a violation of the city's cleanliness standards. The fines are not small. A driver caught with an excessively dirty vehicle in Moscow can face a fine of up to 2,000 to 5,000 rubles. For commercial vehicles, such as taxis or delivery trucks, the fines can be even higher. Now, let us be clear about what excessively dirty means. The law does not require you to wash your car every morning. A few specks of dust from a country road will not get you fined. The violation occurs when the dirt significantly obstructs the view of the car's surface, if mud is caked on the doors, if dirt is splattered across the windows except for the area cleared by the windshield wipers, if the car is so coated in grime that you cannot tell if it is white or gray. Inspectors in Moscow have the authority to issue these fines on the spot. In some cases, they can even prohibit the vehicle from continuing to drive until it is cleaned. There is also a recent development in Russian traffic law that connects to this issue. In April 2026, just last month, lawmakers proposed raising fines for throwing trash out of car windows. The chairman of the Moscow City Duma, a man named Alexei Shaposhnikov, supported an initiative that would use video surveillance cameras to catch drivers tossing cigarette butts or pieces of paper onto the road. Under the proposed changes, a driver who throws a cigarette butt out the window would face a fine of 10,000 rubles. For a truck driver, the fine would be 10 times higher, reaching 100,000 rubles. Repeat offenses would increase to 20,000 rubles for cars and 150,000 rubles for trucks. In extreme cases involving organized dumping, the authorities could even confiscate the vehicle. This proposal shows that Moscow is becoming increasingly strict about vehicle-related cleanliness. The dirty car fine is part of a larger effort to keep the city clean and environmentally safe. There is another related rule that often surprises visitors. In many parts of Russia, you are not allowed to wash your car at home. Specifically, washing your car in suburban areas or on your personal dacha property can result in fines. A lawyer named Tatyana Lokhtina, who is an associate professor at the Plekhanov Russian University of Economics, explained this rule in April 2026. She stated that car owners face fines of up to 3,000 rubles for washing a car in a suburban area. The reason is environmental. When you wash a car at home, the dirty water contains petroleum products, detergents, road salts, and other chemicals. This water flows into the ground or into storm drains without any treatment. Russian law considers this water to be industrial waste. Disposing of it improperly violates environmental and sanitary codes. So not only can you be fined for driving a dirty car in Moscow, but you can also be fined for washing that car in the wrong place. You must use a professional car wash with proper water treatment systems. Now, let us talk about how this law affects visitors and tourists. If you are driving a rental car in Russia, the rental agency is responsible for the vehicle. However, if you are stopped by the police and given a fine for a dirty car, you will be personally responsible for paying it. The best advice is simple. Keep your car clean. If you are driving through muddy or snowy conditions, take the car to a professional wash as soon as possible. Moscow has many affordable, efficient, automated car washes. The cost of a wash is far less than a fine or the hassle of dealing with Russian traffic police. There is also a practical tip. Make sure your license plates are always clearly visible. Even if the rest of your car is dirty, clean the plates. use a cloth or a wet wipe. A readable plate will reduce your chances of being stopped. It is worth noting that these laws are enforced more strictly in Moscow than in other Russian cities. In smaller towns or rural areas, police rarely stop drivers for a dirty car unless the dirt is truly extreme. But in Moscow, with its heavy traffic and high number of traffic cameras, enforcement is more consistent. The logic behind the law is rooted in Russian culture and history. Moscow is a city that takes pride in its appearance. The city government invests heavily in street cleaning, landscaping, and public beautification. A dirty car driving through clean streets is seen as disrespectful to the city and to the residents who pay for that cleanliness. So the next time you see a car covered in mud, think about Moscow. Think about the driver who might be facing a fine simply for not visiting the car wash. It is a reminder that in some places, keeping up appearances is not just polite. It is the law. That is why you cannot drive a dirty car.